a year ago, maybe. I had an unusual injury. I was grappling at the academy, and I kind of tweaked my neck, and I felt fine initially, but later that evening, I was out of state when it happened. My fingers started going numb, and then it spread to my entire arm. And I thought, I'd sleep it off and I'd be okay. I hadn't really spoken to you guys much about hydrodissection, but it was a Sunday. So I was in Arizona, and I had to drive all the way back, and I was in agony that evening. Not so much because of the level of pain, but because everything was numb and I couldn't feel it. It was driving me crazy, right? And then the next day, I got a hold of you guys, and I was like, help me. And you're like, come in, no problem. I wouldn't have been surprised if Dr. Tenney were eating a sandwich while he's like working on me, because it was so common for you. But I felt like a total, sissy, because I was freaking out over my arm. I was like, am I gonna lose my arm? And then you gave me a shot in the neck, and performed some hydrodissection, and just told me to hang out for a bit. And within minutes, I started to feel normal activity, and you had me do the strength test, and you crushed my hand. And later that afternoon, despite your recommendation, I went and trained, and I felt like normal, like completely normal, and it never came back,
Wow.
So I have had a number of students with various types of nerve injuries, and as I understand it, you want to address it as soon as possible, right, to avoid damage to your nerves. But so I always try to tell them, like, oh, you can't feel your fingertips, so go get hydrodissection, and it's a fairly simple procedure, and I trust that the level of expertise helps make it seem simple, and it's actually not terribly expensive. But of all the procedures that I've received here, that one was like instantly, it changed how I was able to function and live, and it was so worth it. And if I ever feel the onset of like tingly sensations, I start thinking hydrodissection. Anyway, but I've only had the one, so but I've had a number of students have the same result, and you can tell kind of which vertebra it is based on which fingertips you're feeling. Right? It's amazing. Yeah, because you're a chiropractor.
So that's I think in general, when we look at like how our healthcare system is working, not for the people that are really doing good hydrodissections, but in general, the treatment of a injury or to the spine or to a part of the body is mostly focused on ligaments, discs, joints, tendons, bone, and sometimes working on the nerves within the spine, but rarely working on the nerves outside of the spine. So with ultrasound and with this technology, we're able to look at and comprehensively see the spine. Okay, there's some arthritis, there's some disc degeneration, there's some spurring. It's not unusual. Sometimes people that have these neurological weaknesses and loss of sensation have a lot of those arthritic findings, and sometimes they don't. Either way, whether it's very arthritic or not arthritic at all, and you have those nerve compression symptoms, the safest and most effective, oftentimes, solution is hydrodissection. And I would say that, we do a lot of procedures a week. I would say I see 2 to 3 people get upper extremity function back every week. And that's just from working on, cervical nerve roots, brachial plexus, axillary plexus sometimes.
All this little window that's about 4 inches in square.
Yeah, so it could be that there's a problem in the wrist or the arm. Any place in the body where there's a nerve that's impinged can become very, very symptomatic and very problematic. So if when we do a hydrodissection, we're simply using fluid to separate the connective tissue that's compressing the nerve and the vasculature off of the nerve and creating more space so the nerve and the vessels can glide more easily. So when we create that increased space, we restore circulation, and we see those instantaneous changes. So ideally, when I see somebody walk in, if I could get them better with the hydrodissection, that's always an optimal solution. I think the biggest reason is you know, it's an amazing change. People are a little bit in shock. They're like, wait a minute, I can use my hand now. I couldn't use it before. Wait a minute, I don't have pain. So it's a little bit shocking, but it's also nice that you don't have to wait for the results. So if you do regenerative things, you're trying to get something to heal. It can be better quickly, but there's usually a time of waiting, and you need to take time to heal. Whereas if you're decompressing a nerve, the nerve is decompressed, and oftentimes you're significantly better.
Yeah.
I love it.
That was great, yeah.
Thank you so much for watching. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to subscribe to watch more content like the one you just saw.